This is the Everyday AI Show, the everyday podcast where we simplify AI and bring its power to your fingertips. Listen daily for practical advice to boost your career, business, and everyday life.
Most AI tools that analyze sales or customer support calls turn those conversations into a text-based transcript. But text-only transcripts miss most of the value, and Modulate fixes that. Modulate's new Velma voice native AI model and their ELM technology actually understand what's happening on those calls. It picks up the valuable tone, timing, emotion, and intent that all AI transcription tools can't provide. So whether it's for sales, customer support, or voice agents, Modulate's new Velma model helps you capitalize on what text-only AI tools miss. Demand more from your AI today with Modulate at modulate.ai. I'd say for the last few years, business leaders who are AI native and using large language models regularly, kind of doing this thing I'll just call Frankenstacking, right? They're piecing together these different parts of processes that different AI tools are pulling together. So it's kind of like this duct taping of a workflow that we didn't have to do before ChatGPT, but now we do. But that's changing. And if you've been listening to the show at all, you're probably tired of me talking about AI operating systems, but it's something that I've been personally very bullish on for years. And the most recent release now from Claude just really hammers that point home. And that's what we're going to be going over today. Claude's new interactive apps and their interactive tools and how this can really increase your productivity and maybe replace a lot of that context switching or Frankenstacking that I think humans that have been using AI correctly that we've been doing for the past few months. Because now, well, these apps inside of large language models like Claude can hopefully do a lot of that for us. All right, I'm excited to dive in. I hope you are too. Welcome to Everyday AI. If you're new here, this thing, well, it's for you. It's for everyday business leaders who are too busy to spend hours every single day trying to figure this AI thing out. So that's what our daily live stream podcasts and free daily newsletter do for you. We help you grow your company and your career. So if that's what you're trying to do, it starts here with the unedited, unscripted live stream podcast. But to take it to the next level, you got to go to our website, youreverydayai.com. There, we're going to be recapping the highlights from today's show, as well as the AI news that you need to know to stay ahead. So this is our kind of weekly segment. We've been doing this for almost a year now, called AI at Work on Wednesdays. So on Wednesdays, we kind of go over new tools and features from the big four. That's Google, Anthropic, Microsoft, and OpenAI. So today we're going to be looking at Claude, and they've honestly been on kind of a tear lately, right? So obviously toward the end of 2025, Claude Code just kind of exploded in popularity. And then we got the kind of non-technical version of that, which we went over last week in Claude Cowork. We've had all these kind of spin-off projects. You know, there's the Claude bot, which is now called the Molt bot, right? But this one, I think, could be as big as all of them. So it hasn't even been out for a full 48 hours yet. But now Anthropic has released these new interactive tools inside of Claude. So we're going to do it a little different today. We're going to start live. All right. So if you ever want to see the video version of this, if you're listening on the podcast, you can find that for free on our website, youreverydayai.com. So live stream audience, if you could let me know, if you could see my screen, that would be super helpful. See if I can make myself a little smaller there. There we go. So I am just inside of Claude. All right. And I'm going to go over exactly what we're doing, but hopefully this is going to work live. I have some other examples that are kind of done because they take a little longer. And full disclosure, this has been buggy. This has been a little buggy since it started, but when it works, it's actually really good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and show you. So when you go to claude.ai and log into your account, you have to make sure that you enable any of these kind of new connectors. So it's weird. There's kind of this like naming mismatch going on because they're technically kind of apps, and that's what most people are calling them, but they're under connectors. in your kind of toolbar, but Anthropic is also calling them interactive tools. All right, so all you have to do is click the plus icon when you go into your Claude account, click connectors, and then go to manage connectors. And then you're going to go to browse connectors. So there's all of these. There's no way to filter them to know which ones are the interactive ones. But if you click, right, so I'm going to go ahead, one that I know is interactive and I already have installed, Clay, as an example. You got to scroll down and then there's a capability section at the bottom, and then you can see it's interactive. So Anthropic did list, I think like 8 or 9 on their website, but I went through all the connectors manually and I noticed that there's some that are interactive that they didn't even mention. So it's a little confusing to even get these set up in the first place. But if I'm being honest, it's kind of confusing in Gemini, in ChatGPT as well, right? ChatGPT even renamed them. So that's how you do it in Claude. Click the plus button, go to connectors. You're going to have to find the individual ones. I think there's only about 10 of them right now, and I'll tell you which ones they are. And then you're going to get going. All right. So now I'm going to go back. Hopefully my prompt is still going to be there. Perfect. So, no, that's not the right one. Fantastic. So I'm going to have to grab the correct prompt. Let's do this one and paste it in there. There we go. So you need to make sure that you have the correct connectors active when you are testing this out and when you see how this works. So I'm going to get this started and then I'm going to explain what's happening here. And this is a real use case, right? I think a lot of people always ask me, Jordan, how do you use all these AI tools? And I want to know how to use them. Well, this is how I use them. So here's an example. I said, carefully look at my Gmail. So it's using my Gmail connector. So you can use these new apps, but also you can pass information from a non-interactive connector to an interactive app, if that makes sense. So the Gmail is not an interactive app, but it's a connector. So I'm telling it, look through my Gmail and find the last 5 guests who have pitched to be a guest on the Everyday AI podcast. Then use Clay to enrich with basic company information. So Clay is a data enrichment app. So I'm saying then use Clay to enrich with basic company information so I know more about the companies. Then present all of that data visually in a Canva presentation in a minimalist Apple-esque design focus specifically on what you know about Everyday AI, right? It has memory of me, Claude does, and the value each guest could bring to our audience and give an audience fit score out of 10. So we get more than 1,000 guests each year to pitch to be on the show. One thing that I struggle with is I don't have enough time to manually research them all. So I'm constantly looking at workflows like this that can do a lot of it for me. So Claude obviously has a lot of my information, what I look for in the memory. And so here I'm having it go look deeply through my email. I'm giving it some personal context to start with. And then I'm saying, go find these last 5 people that have pitched, go find their companies, use Clay to know more about these companies, because half the time I don't know, because there's more new AI companies every day than there are, I don't know, fish in the sea. There's thousands of new AI companies every day, I swear. So half of the people that pitch me, I don't know, but they could be legit. Who knows? Usually I have to spend a lot of time manually doing this, and then I have to read through a long sea of text, which I hate. So this is a use case where it's kind of that Frankenstacking that I've been doing a lot manually, right? So unfortunately, Claude right now doesn't have a way to schedule tasks or schedule prompts like you can do in ChatGPT. I hope that they add it. Gemini has been rolling this out slowly as well. So this is an actual use case. So I want you to think first, what are those roles that you are duct taping right now, that you're Frankenstacking, right? Yes, even if you're using AI to its fullest, a lot of times you're still doing all of this context switching, copying and pasting, using, going from these different apps that you use, these different SaaS applications that your company relies on, and you're constantly having to just patchwork everything together. So that's the great thing about these new apps inside of large language models, is the ability to pass the context. All right, so we're going to go back and check on this a little bit later. All right, but let's get back to kind of the details, right? We just went straight into it. So they did launch with 9 apps, and they are interactive, covering everything from analytics to project management and design. So the open standard is really what pulls this all together, right? So this uses Anthropic's model context protocol, which it is really impressive, right? And you'll see here in a minute, and I'll try to describe it for our audio only audience. But essentially, this allows you to both share data from all of these different sources without you having to duct tape it all together, but also to, in certain instances, interact with a graphical user interface or a GUI, right? And so we're also going to be covering the different apps, how the MCP protocol kind of powers all of this, and then also compare them to ChatGPT apps as well. So here's the overview. You have to be on a paid plan right now to access this. All right. So that includes the Pro, the Max, the Team, and the Enterprise. And at least right now, it's only available on the web and desktop. So they did say that these new apps will be rolling out to Claude Cowork at some point. I'm excited for that. I've been really enjoying using Claude Cowork, which is kind of the non-technical or graphical version of Claude Code. So here's how you enable them. So aside from the way that I went to, there is also a URL. We'll put that in our newsletter. It's a little faster to get to, in all honesty. You just go to claude.ai/directory. And then, like I said, you have to go through and find the ones that are interactive. And then the features are limited, right? Depending on what plan you have. So as an example, I'm on a free Clay plan. I don't subscribe there, but I have an account. So I can only take advantage of once I authorize Claude to essentially read and in some cases write across the two different apps, I can only use features that are available. One thing that I should denote here, and I'll just kind of go back over into live mode. Here we go in a second. So for all of the different apps, you might not even know what they do. All right. So there is a nice way to do that. So I'm actually going to go to Claude.ai/what is it? Directory. There we go. There we go. So as an example, I'm going to go to Clay. So if you scroll down, you will actually see the different tools that you can use in the interactive mode. So for the most part, you should be able to understand the capabilities that these kind of new interactive apps have. Sometimes you can just ask them. Sometimes it doesn't work. One thing I do not like this about Anthropic Claude. You can never @mention something, right? So you just have to have all your kind of interactive apps enabled. And then you just say, hey, use Canva or, use Clay and go do this. But I found oftentimes that doesn't even work. I actually really prefer the version like in ChatGPT where you @mention. So you would type, @Clay or @Canva, and it pulls it up like it would in a Teams Slack message, etc. So you can see, oh, okay, I am specifically sending this command, and the system knows I'm sending this command to the actual app, right? So Anthropic always does it a little differently, so I'm not a huge fan of it. It's the same thing with their skills, right? Anthropic says that Claude decides when it uses the skills, so you can tell it to, and sometimes it will, even when you don't want it to. I like having the control, but I get non-technical people might not like this. But as an example here, I can see the different tools or the different capabilities that Claude or that this Clay app has. So as an example, it can find and enrich contacts at company. These are just tool call names, right? But for the most part, they're descriptive and I can understand. Find and enrich list of contacts, find and enrich company, add contact data points, etc. So these are all things that if I'm like, okay, is this company that pitched me, are they legit? Are they not? Normally I would myself or an agent have to go do, some of this research work. So these are the examples. You can always see what the different apps are capable of if you go and click and check that out. All right. So getting back to kind of our details on how these new interactive apps work. So like I said, the features of the apps might be limited by the plan that you have. So here's why it, I think, matters and kind of what they can do. I kind of broke this down into 3 different main functions that apps can do. And again, interactive apps, interactive tools, whatever you want to call it, but these are different than connectors, right? The biggest thing is embed. So it's embed, act, and sync. So embed, the apps, depending on which one you use, some of their graphical interface is going to actually show up as interactive panels, right? Same thing in ChatGPT, but you're going to see usually a slimmed down, simplified version of if you were using that software or that app on their actual website, right? It's usually not as feature rich. I actually think the ChatGPT version is better in that regard, much better. But you can actually see and interact with those elements. Next, you can act. So you can view, edit, and even take actions without leaving the conversation. And I'll show you some examples of that. And then sync, like I said, two-way. Get rid of the human scaffolding, right? Which is what a lot of us have been doing, right? Like AI actually, because it saved us so much time, but the AIs didn't always talk to each other. It actually created all these new kind of AI assisted human tasks that didn't exist pre ChatGPT. And this kind of the two-way sync, I think, does get rid of a lot of that. So here's some of the apps that were announced and some of the capabilities. So let's go straight into it here. Here we go. So we have Amplitude, which helps you build analytics charts in Claude, Asana, project management. So you can turn chat conversations into projects, tasks, and timelines. Box, the storage company, actually been super impressed with Box. They're always, partnering with all the different AI companies, really at the forefront, I'd say. So you can, in your Box storage, you can search files, preview documents inline within Claude, extract insights, and ask questions about the content. Canva, so you can design presentations in Canva and see, although that part has been iffy for me. It seems like it functions different. I did the same prompt in the Canva interactive app like 7 times, and I think I got 3 very different displays. So very strange at times. Like I said, I don't know if it's early bugs or if, I don't know, you just need to prompt a little bit different. We'll find out over time. Clay, like I said, research companies, find contacts. Salesforce and Agentforce 360 are coming soon. There's also Hex, Monday.com, Slack, Figma for design. Another one I found that wasn't listed on Anthropic's kind of launch page, which is a good one, is Gamma. So didn't even know Gamma was an interactive app until I, spent a couple hours poking around and looking at them all manually. And I'm like, oh, this one's interactive. Cool. All right. So that is kind of how this works. So a couple big differentiators and what this means. So I think a lot of people look at large language models as giving you text answers, right? But now, like I said, the ability to have that embed, act, and sync, Claude isn't just giving you answers anymore. It's giving you a live visual interface that you can see, edit, and interact with. And it does become this operating layer, right? This is, again, truly bringing those day-to-day manual work processes that you're doing in all of these other apps and softwares into Claude and sharing the context. That's the big thing, right? Being able to pass, in my example, we'll see if it works, right? But being able to pass the context of Gmail without me having to do it straight into Clay, and then Claude will power Clay to go find all this information. And then Clay will pass that straight off to Gamma, as in my example, right? So it does become this operating layer that's operating all of these different services. So it is a shift. So previously, Claude had connectors. And for the most part, there was no graphical interface, number one. And it was kind of limited in terms of what you could do on the right side, right? Like actually changing files, taking actions. Obviously, with Anthropic's custom MCP servers, you can do a lot of that if you want to get a little bit more technical, but now it's just in real time. You can collaborate with Claude in real time and see the work that it does on the screen. All right. So let's compare Claude apps versus ChatGPT apps in just a second after a quick word from our partners. Fraudsters used to need fake documents or stolen credentials to scam a business. Now they just need a few clicks to get your CEO to say anything they want. Voice deepfakes rose more than 680% last year. And most fraud detection systems only flag suspicious transactions after the money is already gone. They're not actually listening to the call where the scam is happening. Modulate is. Modulate's new Velma model analyzes live conversations for the signals that give fraudsters away, stress patterns that don't match the story they're telling, urgency that sounds performed instead of real, voices that are synthetic instead of human. all detected for your business in real time, not in a report days later. Modulate's Velma model was trained on 21 billion minutes of real audio and is trusted by Fortune 500 companies. It outperforms voice models from leading AI labs, and it's 100 times more cost effective. So go see Velma catch what your current tools miss at modulate.ai. All right, so let's get back to it real quick, actually, before we go into the comparison. So the original prompt I started with, which is why I can't do all of these live, is actually still going. So we'll get into it a little bit more, but I think it's been at least 10 to 12 minutes. All right, so let's compare the new, and just for easy naming, let's just call them the Claude apps versus ChatGPT apps. So ChatGPT actually beat them to the punch with this one, right? Which is pretty impressive, I'd say. And the reason why I think it's kind of impressive that ChatGPT actually came out with the apps first as well, because OpenAI's apps SDK, so on the developer side, that allows developers to build these type of apps, is actually built on Anthropic's model context protocol. So it was impressive to me that OpenAI kind of beat them to the punch. So OpenAI's ChatGPT apps launched in October. At the time, only 7 apps, and I didn't think that they were that great. But since then, they've actually really doubled down on them. I think there's more than 40 apps right now. So pretty impressive, a much wider variety right now than Claude. So I will say this. Claude's partners maybe skew a little bit more enterprise, although obviously ChatGPT apps have a lot more of that as well. I don't know. Maybe it's because Anthropic's, these new interactive tools, interactive connectors, interactive apps, whatever you want to call them, are a little newer. I'm sometimes more impressed with the output, but it's way buggier. And it's way less consistency. So I'd say overall, it's kind of like, I'd say like the Apple Android experience, right? From 10-15 years ago, everyone was like, oh, if you just want something to work, use an Apple. I kind of get that when using ChatGPT apps versus using Claude apps. When they work, they're fantastic. But like I said, they're very buggy. And I've run into very few bugs on ChatGPT apps. So kind of pros and cons, or maybe it depends on what your business, what your company uses in your day-to-day workflow that might, help you understand. And something to know as well. So ChatGPT actually kind of rebranded their connectors. So they separately, like Claude still has this separate thing. They have their, non-interactive connectors and then their interactive connectors. So essentially in December, which a lot of people missed, OpenAI just kind of got rid, quote unquote, of connectors, and they rebranded them now as apps. So some of ChatGPT apps don't actually have that interactive element. Some do. Right. So that's the difference. Some of the similarities and differences. All right. So that's all for our boring bullet points. Now we can get back in and let's do this live and let's see. All right, cool. We finished. So let me exit out of this here first. So let's go into just that one that we did. So as a reminder, here was the original prompt. Carefully look at my Gmail and find the last 5 guests who have pitched to be a guest on the Everyday AI podcast. Then use Clay to enrich with basic company information so I know more about the companies. Then present all of that data visually in a Canva presentation with in a minimalist Apple-esque design style, blah, blah, blah. Give an audience fit score, all that good stuff. All right, so y'all, if you know anything about how I do these demos, what's the one thing I say do first? Always look at the chain of thought, right? Always, go back and check in AI's work. Never take it, never just take it as truth. So always go through and look at the thought process. I'm not going to bore you, but it starts by thinking, then it goes and it searches through my mail to pull out some of those guest pitches. And then you'll see right away, there's a new little icon. So if you kind of scroll through what Claude thought, you can go and look. You can always see the icon of the app or the connector that it used. So here we are, Clay, and I can see it used the tool Find and Enrich Company. So maybe I wanted to find and enrich contact. I would have to tell that a little more specifically in the prompt, but I didn't even tell it which tool to use. I just left it open-ended, and obviously it did a good job. So here you'll see it's actually a very nice interface, right? So this company, Trace Fuse, they must have pitched me recently. I didn't see it yet. So I can see it. It's a very nice interactive display that's brought in from Clay. So, it's almost like I can scroll over. So it's like an embedded website within the Claude interface, right? So I can scroll kind of up and down this uh, um, Clay interface without it moving the rest of the Claude window, if that makes sense. And there's some tabs up here. I can see the people, I can see the company, right? So this is all public information, right? So I don't care that I'm showing any of this, right? There's a nice kind of graph here that shows the company's headcount growth, right? So I can scroll through, see, okay, this is a big company, small company, all that good stuff. There's some recent news in here. So all of this pulls in from Clay, latest funding, the tech stack, what their website uses. So a lot of great information that it pulls in from Clay. And if I wanted to, I could do a lot more with this information. This isn't necessarily what I wanted it for. I just wanted to kind of vet these companies and these guests and to do a little bit better job of, teaching me about these companies that I may not know about. All right, so I did that for all of the 5 most recent companies. I'm not going to go through each of those, but great job, right? It fired this time. It did it correctly. And then it says, I said this in Gamma. What did I do? Okay, interesting. So in the prompt, right, this is one of those things. I'm like, sometimes it works strangely. I ran this one as a test, I think 2 or 3 times. So I specifically said to do a Canva presentation, but if you look in my connectors, I have Canva and Gamma active. So let me go down here and see what happened, because if you're watching live, you actually saw Gamma pop up, even though I asked it to use Canva. So interesting. So it said, now I have all the company data enriched from Clay. Let me create a Canva presentation with all of this information in a minimalist Apple design style. And the first thing it does is it goes into Gamma. All right. So not sure why, but again, you can see why I'm like, oh, when the results are good, it's great, but it's buggy and it does things, right? Like I wish I could just talk to the actual apps I wanted and tag them in the prompt. So we'll see if it actually figured it out in Gamma or if it went to Canva. All right. So anyways, here we go. It did go through and give me a ranking score on kind of the fit with our audience. So, cool information there. So made a little chart with ranking, the guest name, the company name, the score, and the why it gave them that score. So then it's okay. So what happened here is I told it to use Canva. It tried to use Gamma. It didn't work for whatever reason. So then instead, it just made a PowerPoint. So I guess, number one, props to Claude for getting a job done, even if it didn't use the right tools. But like, what the heck happened there? Because like I said, I ran this prompt before and it worked perfectly with Canva. So I'm not sure what's going on. So let me share a couple other examples here. Let's actually do one more. We'll try to do this one live. Let's see. So let me copy and paste my prompt here. We'll see if it works. So this one, I said, carefully look in my sent email over the past, I didn't want to say week, so that's not going to work very well. Let's change that to month. All right. Okay. So now you'll see, and I'll show this to our live stream audience here. I have a Slack channel. This is just a dummy Slack account, not my actual one I use, just for some testing things. So I have Slack open in a channel. The channel's blank. So you can see this, that if it works, I won't even have to do anything. So what I did is I said, carefully look in my sent email over the past month in my Gmail, as I've sent some emails to a colleague about newsletter feedback. Please reply back with the top 5 trends of feedback only, right? Then send them as a Slack message in the channel Claude testing. All right. I'm saying, don't, reply back with this person's name. All right. So we'll give this one hopefully should work fairly fastly or fairly quickly. So here it went through, it did 6 steps in my email, went through, synthesized some information, right? And then it said, now I have enough data. Let me find the Claude testing channel and send the message. Again, I went through obviously and already authorized Slack to kind of have both read and write ability. Keep that in mind. You always got to keep your data security, right? So you probably shouldn't just go enable this at your company unless you have permission to do so. All right. Always keep that in mind. And then it said done. And then it gave me a link, but I'm just going to go ahead and jump in. And there it is. Right. It is done. So it went through, did some tasks in my email, but it took away the glue, right? I didn't have to, copy and paste something or, use a different tool that's going through my email. Nope, just did it all in Claude. It used my Gmail connector, went straight, and I authorized it to do so and sent the message straight to Slack. Didn't even show it to me. I could have had it first approve it with me, but this is just a test and it just sent it. It just sent it right away. So let's look at one more quickly. So we'll jump into this one here, where I'm just saying, generate a slide deck with Gamma about everyday AI's unique positioning. So this is one of those instances where it's using its memory of me. So I scroll through here and it's pulling in information that I've shared with it in previous chats. I have the memory option enabled. And then it's going through and it says, I'll create a presentation highlighting everyday AI's unique market positioning. Let me generate that with Gamma now. I just got a random error, even though this chat is technically old. So that's interesting. And you'll see here, it says the tool didn't return a result. Let me try again. So again, some bugs going back and forth, but eventually it did it. So here's the weird thing. Again, I ran this exact prompt. This one, I think 4 times. Sometimes I got the graphical interface of Gamma to show up here. And in this case, I didn't. I had to click view your presentation and then open the link. So it is strange, but open it up here and it did put together a little slide deck. I wouldn't use this one necessarily, but it actually, from an information standpoint, it actually did a good job, right? Just not really my style in terms of design and aesthetic, but I could have, prompted better for that. So again, hit and miss. It's really good when it works, but right now, super buggy. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be using this, right? I tell people all the time, this is the worst that it's going to be now. And more than anything, these putting AI to work at Wednesdays are about you getting the reps in for when the technology improves, or in some use cases, it might be ready for you to go right now. Speaking of use cases, make sure to go repost this show. I did put together a little guide on 7 different use cases using Claude's current apps that I think are really great, right? I gave you my kind of examples, how I'm using it, but, people reach out sometimes and they're like, Jordan, stop, showing us how you use AI for your podcast. Like, talk about other use cases, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't have live data, right? How am I supposed to show you, I don't know, these other, use cases from other industries when a lot of this uses your live data. So I do have some other use cases. So if you want access to those, make sure to go find this show on LinkedIn. So in the show notes, if you are listening on the podcast, we always have the link to this LinkedIn episode. Go repost this and I will share that interactive guide going over what I think are some 7 great different use cases for using these Claude apps. Just like I said, and to wrap up here on putting AI to work at Wednesday, this is the future. Is it buggy? Yes. Are there a ton of apps? No. Is it production ready to start automating A to Z? Absolutely not. But is this something that can up your productivity today? Absolutely, right? Especially if you are a heavy user in some of these tools that I mentioned, right? If your company uses, Monday.com or Asana for project management, if you use Canva and Gamma or Figma for anything on the design side, right? If Slack, right? A very popular, right? One of the most popular communication tools in the world. So right there, maybe that's already 70% of what you do all day is you're inside those tools. So now think. You can unwind that Frankenstacking. You can start to unroll and put away that AI duct tape, all the human scaffolding that we've been doing, because this is the future, right? Whether it's ChatGPT apps, Claude's new interactive tools, or whatever Google's going to roll out next. It is taking the context from the applications and the software that you already use. You are directing, you are orchestrating. But now these agentic models are sharing all that information. They're passing that context off from app 1 to app 2 to app 3, like I showed you in my example, from Gmail to Clay to PowerPoint, right? I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to connect the dot. I didn't have to poke the AI with a stick and say, good job, keep going. All right. So I hope, if nothing else, this encourages you to start moving your day-to-day processes, whether it's inside Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, I don't care. But you have to start doing it now, because if you wait until everyone else is doing it, it's too late. And if you're an avid listener of the show, I want you to be the smartest person in AI at your company or in your department. So thank you for tuning in. Make sure, if you haven't already, if you want to be the smartest person in AI, go to youreverydayai.com. It takes about 6 to 8 minutes to read our free daily newsletter every day. So make sure you go check that out. Thank you for tuning in. Hope to see you back tomorrow and every day for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all. The risk with AI voice agents isn't that they sound too robotic for your company to use. The real risk is that they can sound too confident while saying something completely wrong to your prospective clients or customers. Made up refund policies, promises your company never approved, or discounts that don't even exist. You've got to give your AI voice agents a trust layer with Modulate. Modulate monitors live voice conversations to flag abuse, false claims, fraud, and user emotions for safer, more empathetic responses. For the guardrail layer you need between your AI agents and your customers, you need Modulate at modulate.ai.
And that's a wrap for today's edition of Everyday AI. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps keep us going. For a little more AI magic, visit youreverydayai.com and sign up to our daily newsletter so you don't get left behind. Go break some barriers, and we'll see you next time.